We have a quorum. Let me call the meeting to order. The chairman, Mr. Wong Yuk-man, is stranded in Taiwan. This is because of the inclement weather, so he cannot come back to host the meeting, and I will be standing in as the chairman at this meeting. Item 1 on the agenda, confirmation of minutes of meeting. The minutes of meeting held on the 10th of March 2014 has been issued to members. The Secretariat has not received any proposals for amendments. Can I ask members to confirm the minutes, please? If there is no objection, minutes are endorsed. Item 2, information paper issued since the last meeting. After the last meeting, the clerk issued one information paper, and the details are in the agenda. Item 3. Do you have any views or comments on the information paper? If not, we go into item 3, date of next meeting and items for discussion. The next meeting will be held on the 17th of May, which is a special meeting. It will be at 9 o'clock in room 1, and that is for the public to express views on the setting up of a mechanism to recognize professional expertise across the IT sector. There will be 2 sessions, each lasting for 1 hour 45 minutes, and each deputation will be given 2 minutes to speak. There will be time for members to make comments or ask questions, but there may not be a lot of time, I'm afraid. The meeting will be adjourned at 12:30, and it will be extended for 15 minutes if there is a need. Any questions? If not, the next regular meeting of the panel will be held on the 9th of June 2014. It is a Monday at 2:30 in the same room. We have 2 items proposed. The first one, progress update on the e-government development. This is already in the list of outstanding items for discussion. This is item 1. Number 2, the administration would like to propose a new item, which is IT enrichment courses. This is because the FS announced in the 2014-15 budget that the administration will start IT enrichment courses in secondary schools which excel in IT education. The administration would like to consult the panel on the draft curriculum and implementation details. If the panel will support it, an application to the FC for funding will be made in July 2014. Any views, please, on the items for discussion at the next meeting? Mr. Charles Mock. Since the second item, enrichment courses, is very much related to education, can we also invite the education panel to come along so as to draw their attention to this matter? Yes, thank you for that view. We'll do that. So about those 2 items, I think members have endorsed them. And we have also received from Mr. Charles Mock a letter to the chairman dated the 3rd of May 2014. This is about follow-up on the acquisition of CSL New World Mobility Limited by Hong Kong Telecom. Mr. Charles Mock's letter and also the matter itself, the administration said that a press release has been issued on the matter, and since we have tight agendas set up for future meetings, the panel can actually consider referring the matter to the Hong Kong Communications Authority for a written reply, and we can then try to find a time for a special meeting if after getting the response we think a meeting is necessary. But as you know, we have the filibuster at the council meeting. I think we'll have to see whether we can find a time slot after Mr. Wong Yuk-man, the chairman, comes back. But Mr. Charles Mock and members, would you agree that we ask for a written response from the Hong Kong CA first? I do not object, Chairman, because I understand it's very difficult to arrange time for meetings. But let me just say that before a decision was made, this matter was actually discussed at the panel. Many members spoke on various views, but now a decision has been made, and the public may question why there is less competition while approval has been given. I understand a press release has been issued, but I don't want to stop there. In fact, they would know what we have in mind and would like to question them on, and that is about competition, about services and prices, and also at the end of the year there will be the auction of 3G spectrum. I like to ask all these questions and they should give us an answer. I don't mind getting a written response first, but I believe they should give early consideration to all these issues. Very soon the 3G spectrum auction will take place. The sector and also the public are asking whether the license fees will be reduced so that the public will be given a lesser burden. I like to ask these questions, and so they should take all these up in the response. Well, let me see if you can agree to this, Mr. Mock. You wrote us the letter, but it is quite simple. You did not include those questions that you just asked. If you would like the administration to target each and every question and give a reply, why don't you draft another letter which will be more detailed? Well, yes, certainly I can draft those questions for the clerk to include in a letter, and then the chairman can circulate that letter to members first. Okay, right, thank you. Thank you very much. Next, Ms. Claudia Mo has also raised a matter. On the 5th of May, Ms. Mo wrote to the chairman asking the panel to discuss the issue of the program staff code of RTHK. Again, Ms. Mo, if we were to arrange a special meeting, it will be so difficult now. So I'd like to ask Ms. Mo whether she can consider asking the administration to give a written response first, and then we'll decide whether we can find a time slot for a special meeting. Of course, the administration has also said that there was a public response, and in fact they have already written in response to some other members. Well, I would not agree at all, because as you know, press freedom in Hong Kong is endangered. The management of RTHK, Mr. Roy Tang, is an AO. He was parachuted onto RTHK, and he's suppressing staff views using his official position. They would like to include the wording freedom of speech and opening up society so it becomes a civic society, but he objected to it. This is quite strange, and this is not speculation either. The RTHK staff union or program staff union have submitted all the papers. We are now asking for a debate. You and Mr. Wang Yokman have always said that we have a tight schedule, but on the 9th of June, the administration is proposing to discuss IT enrichment courses, and you have said yes immediately.
I request the RTHK senior management and worker representatives, they need to meet and discuss, because the staff say that a dozen departments within RTHK unanimously say that they need to have freedom of speech in their manual, but management has vetoed that. So bureaucracy is oppressing the media. So I would like to have dialogue. Okay, Ms. Mo, we've heard your opinions. Any other views? Ms. Mo is calling for a special meeting regarding RTHK. Chairman, I support Ms. Mo. Well, it's different from my previous topic. I accept that they can provide written documents first, but this issue, that is the dialogue, that's very important. And these things, if you stall it, it might just disappear from the horizon. So I support that being added to the agenda as soon as possible or having a special meeting. I support. If in that case, I'll take this request for either a special meeting or having it added to the agenda. I'll have to defer to Chairman and the Secretary. So we'll now move on to agenda item number 4, the Hong Kong Design Center work report. So let's invite the government officials. So we welcome the administration and design center representatives who will be taking us through the PowerPoint slides, and then legislators can start questioning. Dr. Edmund Lee, Executive Director of Hong Kong Design Center. Well, I have prepared some slides, and I won't be going through each one of them. Keep it brief. Well, we are a center that wants to promote design as a strategic initiative to help Hong Kong strengthen its competitiveness. So from the knowledge side and promotion aspects, we would like to benefit society. So our work objectives, those who benefit or participate come from all corners of the society. We have designers up to entrepreneurs, business leaders. For example, our Business of Design Week is now a very important cooperation platform. We work with design, education, brand name, IP, and we also have events where the members of the public can participate. We hope to broaden their horizons. We also want to create business opportunities. So that is what the BODW aims at. And this year, we're working with Sweden. They place a lot of emphasis on IT, creative technologies, and we're trying to learn from them to boost our development. We also want to nurture excellent design. So we have Asia Awards, most influential Asian awards. So starting from 2013, we had 970 competition entrants and 19 and won prizes. In 2003, we had more than 5,470 participants. We also have different awards. We hope to strengthen the strategic use of design. We hope to nurture excellent design. We also have a Young Designer Awards starting from 2005. We have more than 63 winners now. These are young designers. They have the chance to receive sponsorship, to work in world-class design studios. This will help their career, their This will also benefit their life experiences. Starting from 2012 May, we have taken over incubation center in the science park. We now have incubated some 148 companies, 94 we have some 95% of companies that have graduated from our program. This is worth promoting because we have 1/3 of companies related to product design, and we have space, visual arts, fashion companies. These companies help our economy grow. They also create job opportunities. So from inception till now, we have created more than 600 job opportunities, and some 70% are full-time jobs. The others are part-time jobs. We also have created a lot of IP, some patents, trademarks, external designs, and so on. We have done some calculations. These graduating companies, if they continue to operate, each company creates 4 job opportunities. That's of course an average. That some large companies can provide 18 jobs, and some companies might only hire 2 or 3 people, but the average is 4, and we have quite a few companies who have won overseas and local awards. So we will continue on supporting this incubation program. We also provide courses to help these designers to familiarize with business operations, sales, marketing, brand creation, and so on. So from 2008, there have been 190 students enrolling in designing and innovation. We do have other measures to help them. For example, we have some design bazaars. We have 5 or 6 day workshops. In the past, we had shopping malls that sponsored us, and it allows designers interact with the public. They can understand their products. So we will continue to enlist more shopping malls and business sponsorship. Of course, we're talking about designing future society. So aside from existing management and knowledge, we would like more leaders and professionals to understand design. So through the Design Week, we have a lot of learning opportunities for management, designers, for people from the innovation field. We have a platform for them to learn more. We have a design school. We would like more executives utilize these design skills. So according to the government's needs, we also have provided courses for the CSTDI. We have opportunities for senior civil servants to enhance their innovation skills. We have also convened some roundtable discussions for the public. The topics have involved culture, economy, education, society, and on each occasion we have a dozen or more people from the different professions attend these workshops, and they can bring back new skills to the board. We also have some global summer camp, design camps. It's to help the young people. So in perhaps a week or 10 days, they can meet with students from around the world. They can participate in a summer camp and can conduct cultural exchange. They have also been able to visit the mainland. And they can gain some experience with mainland culture and mainland design. Of course, we also have public exhibitions. Recently, we have just concluded an exhibition in Milan where Hong Kong had entered as an independent exhibition. So we have a group of designers and young designers that were introduced to the global, to the international market, and there were more than 100,000 visitors at that Milan exhibition in 2 weeks. So the media, they support our work. Of course, we also have other areas of cooperation with the LCSD and Art Basel. Here is a picture of Hong Kong Basel exhibition. We've worked with them before. We have taken Hong Kong designed furniture and created a platform for displaying this. So our outlook for the future, based on the foundation we have laid, we would like to enhance international cooperation. Our most influential Asia award, we also want to strengthen our influence through that award, and we need new thinking. We need cross-industry thinking. We need new thinking in the public and private spheres. So, as I said just now, we want to help young designers start their own business. We will help them overcome the difficulties of starting a business. And of course, we will strengthen cooperation. Lastly, as a promoting agency, we want to uphold the design culture and spirit in society. Okay, anybody with questions? Mr. I got you, sir. Anybody else? Lang Sing. Well, we should end at 3:25. We'll start with 4 minutes and for Q&A. Thank you, Chairman. The Design Center, since its inception, the industry has acknowledged it. The Design Center has expended a lot of effort. The BODW annual event is an international design landmark, and every year we have a lot of well-known designers to share.
I think it has done something very positive for Hong Kong. But as in previous meetings of this panel, we mentioned that the injection from the administration into the Hong Kong Design Center is done in such a way that it's difficult to quantify the effects of the center. Say, for example, whether there is any growth in terms of GDP, what about people taking part in the sector? Has that grown in number? I hope you can give us such quantifying parameters so that we know the actual performance and achievements of the Hong Kong DC. I also know the $70 million funding for the Hong Kong DC has reached the end of its period for use. If you want to continue to get funding support, I think you should come forward with some performance indicators. Ms. Ho. P.S. Thank you. Let me say something in brief, and then my colleagues from the center can say more. In terms of measuring the performance of the center, we have got some recent figures from the Census and Statistics Department, but of course there is still some lag. Compared to 2005, 2012 has seen an increase in GDP value to the tune of $1 billion. In 2012, it is $3.3 billion. If you look at employment figures, 9,610 in 2005 and 14,140 in 2012. We also look at the activities of the DC and what kind of effect it has in creating understanding of the design sector of Hong Kong. And my colleagues can supplement. And in terms of benefit from the design sector, well, that is not something easy to measure. You can count the number of activities and the incubated companies, etc., but it is not easy to say what kind of reward there has been from our investment. I think in previous FC meetings, we mentioned whether we could do a tracking survey to look at changes in the sector. We will continue to discuss with the Design Center to see how we can do this in a scientific manner. Next year, the triennial budget will be depleted and we'll have to come back to the FC for more support. And I will take the opportunity to do an internal review with the Hong Kong Design Center to see how we can continue to support its work. As to the media value, maybe Mr. Liu can say more. Mr. Liu, please. Yes, briefly, Chairman. The so-called advertisement or media value, that is in para 7 of the paper. If we can look at page 2 of the annex, you can see that in the last 2 years, discounting operating cost, which is in page 1 of the annex, page 2 shows the funding for their projects, and taking 2 years together, that will be $87 million. And advertisement value will be in terms of over $100 million, including continuous advertisements taken out in Hong Kong Economic Journal. In other words, every $1 spent on PR or newspaper advertisement, it has created more than $1 in value. Mr. Yu Si Wing, thank you. I'd like to refer to the electrical paper. It is said that $100 million has been given to Hong Kong DC, and starting from 2007, that has been the case, and it should be good for 5 years. And then in para 4, it says that the money has been transferred to the Create Hong Kong League. I'd like to ask this question. The $100 million approved in 2007, now how was that used? And then in 2009, it was transferred to Create Hong Kong. And after that took place, how was the $100 million spent and for how long it could last? Second question. Again, the achievements or performance of Hong Kong DC. Here in the annex, you say it has contributed to Hong Kong's economy, and you have given us some figures. When you applied for the funding, you should have done some estimates as to what kind of effect it should create. So you can juxtapose that with the final figures, and you should tell us whether the Hong Kong DC did better than you expected or the reverse is true. Who can take those questions? Yes? Chairman, I'd like to talk about the effectiveness, and then other colleagues can comment on the funding issue. When we started, well, I could put it this way. Mr. Yu was talking about a systematic measuring of the performance level, and he is asking whether we have achieved it. But I don't think we have done that kind of measurement. What I was saying was that we would like to do a tracking survey to see what we are doing, and then later on, when we add more money, we'd like to see what changes can be brought about. And also, after making the investment, what kind of economic benefits can be reaped. I mentioned some figures, and some of them were related to our investment, but some could not be tracked. And I can tell you frankly that if we were to do a very specific effectiveness system, it is not easy. We might need the help of experts. Mr. Yu? Okay, I grant you that you might not have the experience at the beginning, but from now on, when you ask for more funding, you should let us know the goals, and then we can juxtapose the performance against the goals, or else you would just be telling us you have done so and so and you have got such growth, and we do not know the effectiveness of the work. Can you include that paragraph in your funding request papers later on? Chairman, can I please add? At the beginning of his remarks, Mr. Yu said that the administration earmarked $100 million over 5 years for the Hong Kong DC for normal operation. And this should last between 2007 and 2011, which is about averages out to about 20 million every year. This is for the Hong Kong DC to pay office rent and staff cost, and also to do planning for major projects. If we talk about the BODW, which is a very big-scale event, in a particular year, you should hire project staff who are not full-time staff. And that kind of money will come out from Create Hong Kong. The Create Hong Kong will give a particular event particular funding. The $100 million between 07 and 11, that lasted for 5 years, but starting from 2011, $70 million was injected by government for 3 years. In other words, there was about a 13% increase. What about Para 4? What is that $100 million? It says this is the non-recurrent commitment for Hong Kong DC under the Innovation and Technology Commission. What is that all about? Sorry. Are you talking about Para 4 or number 4? This is the background brief prepared by the Electrical Secretariat, Para 4. That's paper CB bracket 4 590, 13 to 14 bracket 04. Do you have that paper, officials? Let me add. This is saying that in 2009, we set up the Create Hong Kong. That is Mr. Liu's office. It was set up in 2009. It did not exist before. And this has become the one-stop focus to promote innovation and creativity. As Mr. Liu was explaining, the $100 million was put under the Innovation and Technology Commission. But since we have had Create Hong Kong started starting from 2009, and since Create Hong Kong was subsumed under ITC, it was just a wiring of the head or the funding to Create Hong Kong. It is just that it has been moved from one account to another. There was no extra funding. Mr. Ng Leung Sing. Thank you, Chairman. Para 13, please, of the paper. It says that the DC is dedicated to developing its executive and professional training programs. I'd like to know whether the Hong Kong DC is helping to train in-service staff, or is it helping graduates from universities who might not have read design courses? They might have read liberal arts, and now they would like to engage themselves in innovation and creativity jobs. Are there sponsorships or scholarships? So you can sign contracts with these fresh graduates and engage them for certain time after graduation, especially those who have read their courses overseas. Mr. Lee? Yeah, knowledge is important. The paper talks about executives and those who are already experienced, but you are talking about the young people through the Young Design Talents Award scheme. Every year we give quite handsome sponsorship. Let me go to that slide. To selected young designers who will be sent overseas. We may allow them to have practicum for 6 months to a year, like in a workshop, or they may engage in some courses. Now let me be more specific. They may be Hong Kong University graduates, and they might have already got a scholarship for going to the UK. But if they should source a course in the US relating to design, and yet that university does not give him a scholarship, if this graduate goes to you and apply for your Hong Kong Young Design Talent Award, and at the same time he gives up the scholarship already awarded him from one particular overseas university, I was saying that a university student might not have read design. However, if he could be sent overseas to read a design course and he might come back to serve Hong Kong, then do you do anything to provide that bridge? Mr. Ng's question is such that right now the Hong Kong DC mounts and provides practicum opportunities for young designers, and this is done through the Hong Kong Young Design Talent Award. Either they are fresh graduates from university that year and they must be recommended by the relevant lecturers. As you know, each institute can recommend quite a number of talented students, and an independent expert panel will do the selection. There are 4 such opportunities every year.
And there are also 4 vacancies for people already engaged in design work. So if you're interested in design but have not taken design courses and you don't have a school's recommendation, and also not in a design studio, then we cannot provide a scholarship or internship opportunity for these people. Well, I would like to forward some of these young people to your office for referral. And no more questions, and I have a couple of questions to follow up. Design it's not just about innovation. We would like Hong Kong design products to create a Hong Kong brand name and commercialize. But during the process of commercialization, user experience, usability is very important. I am aware that the Singapore government has some centers looking at Asian consumption behavior, and that can help designers in their design process to look at the usability and the user experience. So in this respect, a couple of years ago I had mentioned that Hong Kong has conditions to help local designers to do a better job in usability, but in your presentation I haven't heard any of this. Do you have any plans, Mr. Liu? Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to respond briefly, and then Dr. Lee can supplement. In this respect, the government doesn't have sufficient consensus with the design industry to promote a comprehensive user study. But in individual items, especially through the Design Center, we have looked at the latest trends and knowledge in user experience, especially the Knowledge of Design Week in June, where we have different small group discussions where there are workshops on this topic. The speakers are very well known in the design industry, so perhaps Edmund can provide more details. Dr. Lee. So user-based design is user-based. It combines products and services, so the user experience is not just one limited facet. It is a holistic approach. So this June, at the Knowledge of Design Week, Hong Kong being a service economy, we are examining the service model of the future, and it's all about user experience. We're not just looking at IT, we're embedding IT in the product, and you're trying to create a user experience. So it is cross-industry, cross fields. Well, I'm encouraged after hearing your response, but I don't hear what your plans are and what the government plan is, because Singapore has set up some labs and Singapore government has set up some labs and study centers to look at user experience. So your center is called the Design Center. You have a vision and mission, but why don't you have these labs or research centers? Aren't you missing an important ingredient? Thank you, Chairman. Outside the Design Center, you mentioned the Singaporean user experience studies. In the past, we had relied on Create Smart initiative, where we had funded the Polytechnic University. That one study that they did was the Asian facial ratios, the body aspect ratios, and how it's related to design. Well, we encourage universities to launch these kinds of studies, and in our design center, we will provide the support. So academia needs to work with the business. Well, if the government thinks that design is important and user experience is important and it's an essential part, so will the government consider setting up this type of research and provide this type of support within the design center? Because these are not one-off exercises. They should be long-term exercises to accumulate data to help designers. So will the government consider including this? Ms. Susie Ho, when we do these types of projects, we look at what the market needs are. The Polytech has undertaken one research project. If the market wants to do this research, we support them. In the coming year, we'll review the workload of the design center. We can fine-tune our work. Ms. Sidho, well, first of all, this fund, the fund manager should be very careful because the audit commission has found a lot of areas worth examining. Well, Chairman, they either support business that have already started, that have already raised capital, or they organize student activities. But these student activities are just one-off, a summer camp or a competition. But if you are to inspire students, attract them into this field, or if you, then these one-off efforts are not sufficient, because if they can't enter university, or they can't enroll in Ivy, then I agree with the chairman. There should be some workshops for those who can't enroll in university but have completed high school. South Korea is doing a great job. In Gwangju, they have a center, cultural activities, but in fact, they have a whole set of IT design as part of the infrastructure. In their cultural center, they have a powerhouse headquarters for primary school students, for high school students and university students to experience the design process. So, Chairman, I hope that this fund can include some recurrent work studios. So whether you work with Create Smart or the universities or Ivy, there should be opportunities for students to get this knowledge firsthand. They should be arranged internship opportunities, or in high school they should be given some projects. You need to invest rather than just a one-off competition. For the competition participants who didn't win, it would be a waste of their efforts if there's no follow-up. So we're already spending $100 million. You shouldn't be a Scrooge. You should allow more opportunities for these young people to follow up. Well, I'd like to remind you, Ms. Sidho, it's not a fund. It's a center. They have a government funding. So could the government respond? Mr. Liu? Well, the topic today is the progress report on the Hong Kong Design Center. Yes, every year we have competition for high school students and young people. And every year, the funding and events, they're using the Creative Smart Fund. So, and each funding exercise, it's a one-off, but they can make repeat applications. We already have projects that have been run 3, 4, 5 times. So when young people promote their innovative event, a lot of times under the LCSD or the district office, the events are much more numerous and they've had a much longer history. So in promoting innovation, the Design Center and will focus more on commercialization. If it's at the primary school level or high school level, we allow them to continue under the LCSD or Home Affairs Department. Well, from education to commercialization, if you consider it as a chain, there are different operations managed by different people. So you should see how you can coordinate your efforts. I'd like to repeat that what I'd like to see is a sustained effort rather than one-off exercise, one-off competitions. So after these young people participate in competitions, they can continue. Okay, thank you, Ms. Sid Ho. Well, Mr. Leung Sing and Ms. Sid Ho have mentioned that a lot of young people might not be enrolled in design schools, but they might have talent and interest. It seems that your scheme is neglecting these people, so the administration can see whether it can provide more opportunities and direction for nurturing design talent. So we'll conclude this item, and we can now move on to agenda item number 5, the Digital Inclusion Progress Report. So let's invite the officials first.
Welcome to the administration. Please use the PowerPoint to introduce the paper. I don't think you need to go through the entire PowerPoint. Please be concise and precise. Mr. Wang, please. Thank you, Chairman. I believe you agree that technology can enhance the quality of life. Through digital inclusion, we would like to allow the disadvantaged to share the advantages of technology so they are included in society. In terms of IT application, different groups may have different challenges. We have attended to the needs of the elderly, people with disabilities and students of limited means. In the last year, we have extended it to other groups in need, such as ethnic minorities and students with special learning needs. I will now detail some of our programs. First of all, making use of mobile apps and tablet computers, we have provided the funding support in providing such to underprivileged groups. We have tried to develop these together with different groups. We have done 7 of these, and they have been rolled out since the end of last year. They could be divided into 2 groups. 4 of them have to do with providing more facility and convenience in life, including the barrier-free travel guide for the physically handicapped, and also auditory and speech training app for children with hearing impairment, and Hong Kong Easy for ethnic minorities, etc. We have the searching and exploring with speech augmented map information to help the visually impaired, and this has won a bronze award in a scheme this year. We have the stories for social skills made easy. We can help autistic children with these app, and also those children who have cognitive difficulties. We also have the Learn Smart Teaching Material Publishing platform. Members can see the 7 apps and the materials in the plastic folder in front of you. As for the disabled, we continue to do it in a multi-pronged approach so that people with disabilities can gain from this web accessibility campaign. Hong Kong's government websites have been upgraded to the requirement of level AA standard. Also, we have mounted workshops and seminars for IT personnel so they understand more how barrier-free websites can be formulated. This is the web accessibility campaign. And since mobile apps are more and more common now, we have drawn up the guide for developing mobile apps. And in fact, web accessibility has been included in ICT courses in universities, so all ICT graduates will understand about web accessibility. Starting from 2012, together with the EOC, we have operated an award scheme every year to encourage organizations to do barrier-free websites, and we would actually help them assess the websites. We have done so again very lately, and the number of award winners has doubled. We hope the different sectors will understand that in their websites there should be web accessibility. We have also asked the public to select the website that they favor most. In terms of the elderly, recently we have cooperated with elderly service units in order to help the elderly understand more about ICT. We have got the IT Star Award scheme last year. We have identified 12 elderly people who have made use of ICT in order to enhance the quality of life of themselves and others. We have also got the Smart Elderly Awards Recognition Scheme. This will help elderly to use more IT by our showing appreciation to them. We are also concerned about institutionalized and hidden elderly people. They are not connected to society, and IT can actually help them get in touch with more people. In March, we have started an ICT outreach programs, and we are going to make use of the networks of service units so that we can contact elderly people in all 18 districts and arouse their interest in ICT by making use of tablet computers. And as for the disadvantaged students, we are going to help them. And after listening to members last time, we will cooperate with the 2 Internet Learning Support Program operators to help them roll out their programs better. And in terms of technology support, it is quite expensive, and the 2 Organizations have beefed up the service. After knowing the views of their users, we are doing this in different channels so that needy families will understand that there is such a program, and when there is a need, they know who to turn to. In this scholastic year, the scheme has done very well. Overall service volume, there has been an increase of 46%, and technology support, there has been a 5-time fold, and also another service that has doubled. In the coming year, we will continue to promote digital inclusion on different levels and from different angles. We are going to roll out more apps for the disadvantaged, and this year we have started the 當 NGO 遇上 IT 人 matching scheme so that we can arouse more interest and proposals for developing mobile app. And of course, these should not duplicate with existing apps. Again, we are going to promote web accessibility, and this will become the basic code for designing websites. We are going to involve the public more, so there will be more awareness in the community. For the elderly, we will continue with the award scheme, and we are going to involve more elderly by providing examples. Again, we are going to look for more concession schemes so as to benefit more needy families. That is my report. Thank you, Chairman. How many members would like to ask questions? Please hold up your hands. 4 minutes each, including a reply. There can be a second round. Mr. Charles. Chairman, with regard to OGCIO's work in digital inclusion, I can say I appreciate it, but I think there is one thing that is lacking. Last time you came here to do a report, and still there has been no progress in one aspect. And I really like to talk about Internet Learning Support Program. Some organizations have been criticized. In fact, you criticized it for improperly using public money, and that their accounts were in a messy state. But 1 year has passed and we have seen no progress. In fact, from your information that was provided to us, you said the entire matter was referred to the police and the ICAC. But what has become of it? You can't just sit there doing nothing. I should not go into the details here, but if you look at the Mega Events Fund and also the Hong Kong Dragon and Dance Festival, etc., I think those are very similar examples. We are not talking about the entire amount, but overall you have already spent $70 million on this program. And the Audit Commission may say that this was discovered by you, so the fault was not with OGCIO. However, even so, it doesn't mean that we should not pursue the matter. From 2012, the ICAC and also you yourself put your finger on the problems like messy accounts and abuse of the use of public money, that they gave themselves salaries, and also they provided contracts or awarded contracts to people they knew, and also delaying paying the provision to ATDF under digital inclusion. These have all been reported in the media. Last time, when you came, you said that iPro-A, in terms of the setting up of an independent account, basically did not tell you the truth. Now, I stand to be corrected if what I say is not accurate. However, you passed the buck to the so-called enforcement agencies, and over the past year, you did nothing. If the accusations were true, then you should really get to the bottom of the matter, because they told you an independent account was set up, but in fact that was not the case. So what do you propose to do about this? Any follow-up or any legal action that can be taken? I'll leave them some time to answer. Ms. Ho, I will give an overall response and then my colleagues can supplement. If I remember correctly, last year, it was in June that we came here to give you a report, and we said then that one of the e-inclusion, which is one of the organizations, because of its administrative problems, we terminated the contract, and the entire program was transferred to Boys and Girls Clubs Association, and everything was smooth in that transfer. We also explained that if there were any problems, any breaking of the rules and regulations, we would deal with them. What do you mean? Are you dealing with them? No, we have already dealt with those. You have dealt with those, meaning that nothing has come out of it. Well, what we did was, if we should see the need, we would refer it to the relevant organizations, and the follow-up and investigation would be done by other organizations. So you mean you did not have to do anything? What we should do, we have already done. Mr. Chen Wafeng. Thank you, Deputy Chairman. This Internet Learning Support Program has a good objective, so everybody can share in the fruits of technology development. However, I'd like to talk about the paying of installments. We understand that $683,000 have become a bad debt, and over 210,000 have been written off. And we understand there are 259 cases which may involve bad debts, and that may entail an amount of $310,000. I'd like to ask the administration whether you have reviewed the matter and identified the problems. Is it because you were too lenient, or that your monitoring was not strict enough? How can we reduce the non-payment of installments? Who can answer the question? With regard to the payment in arrears, every case would be reviewed by the implementation organization. In fact, the payment in arrears could be traced to two causes. One, they could not be identified because the address is no longer correct. And secondly, some families did have financial difficulties. So the organization concerned would send social workers to review the cases. And if necessary, help would be given. We have got a very detailed procedure for dealing with each case. The two implementers have included this in their manual. The follow-up method is in the operation manual. Every time at the steering committee's meetings, we review such payment in arrears cases. Can I further ask? The cost for each recycled unit will be $1,500. Does that include operating cost? If yes, can we lower the operating cost in any way?
The 1,500 figure is a year ago. At the time, we divided the expenditure by the number of units. In our refined program, we have significantly reduced the operation cost, and the average cost is $500 per unit. But the cost of recovering delinquent payments will increase the cost. But we have to see if each family has this need and whether they can afford it. The agencies involved will also seek donors to donate equipment to needy families. The government is helping the disadvantaged. In the mobile apps, there are also 7 companies subsidized. The results are very varying. Some are subsidized 500,000, some are subsidized 200,000. and they have different number of downloads. Well, different communities have different needs, but the development cost is not a big problem, but recurrent costs are more problematic. There are upgrade costs, data maintenance, system maintenance, and every year there should be a review. I see that we just have download figures for 31st of March 2014. So, do we have any systematic requirements in the future so we can be informed of the progress? And we want to see upgrades of the apps on a regular basis. So does the government have such an arrangement? And just now, and according to my request, has the government set aside a budget for the coming years? Thank you, Chairman. The 7 mobile inclusion apps were funded on a one-off basis. We will promote them. We will promote these 7 apps. We just started this year, and on 19th, 20th of April in Cyberport we held an event. So we'll continue promoting. Now regarding content update, the 7 companies will continue. We will look at these apps to see if it's sustainable. We hope that after creating a platform, they can add content at a lower cost. So we have the software platform, and we hope the content can be added easily. Well, the money has been given, they've developed the apps. Will the government review their progress? If it's successful, will they seek further funding? Yes, they need to provide a report in a year's time. They need to disclose the usage. We have also launched a new round of application. They can apply for the subsidy. The app has to be of use to disadvantaged groups, and we will subsidize new functions and upgrading of content. Now, there might be more companies seeking funding, so I would like to see a recurrent process. So let's say they apply for funding for 3 years, so the government needs to monitor them. It should have a time limit. If they do a good job, there should be an award. If they don't do a good job, there should be a review. There should be some pressure since it's government funded. These apps need to be maintained and upgraded. So how much funding is given? We don't fund them every year. It's a one-off fund, and but we will follow up for 3 years. I'd like to ask Mr. Lai, you said that there were some problems of iPro-A. So these bad debts, there should be less and less. But when you look at paragraph 8, Organic, Web Organic. They have a bad debt of 3 million, and they have not improved. They've accumulated more and more bad debt. So on 18th of May 2013, so when the funding stopped, what was their bad debt at the time and afterwards? How did they accumulate even more bad debt? So does that indicate that you're not exercising control, or it's out of control? If you compare to Appendix F, if you look at their performance, Web Organic is even doing worse than the Boys and Girls Club. Well, since you've made such a big fuss out of this and you need to have ICAC involved, so after 18th of May, why do we still have these problems? Doesn't that indicate this plan, this scheme is a failure, or you haven't been able to monitor them? Regarding Web Organic, they're not making installments, they make yearly payments. So they will only discover delinquent payments after 1 year. So it's only made aware in 1 year's time. As I said just now, for each case we have a mechanism to follow up. So you're saying you can't monitor them, whether the installments are yearly or monthly. If you look at Boys and Girls Clubs, they don't have a big problem. They only have 4 delinquent payments, but you have 259 delinquent payments, even though they were accumulated. But if you look at Eden Conclusion and Boys and Girls Clubs, they only have 130 odd. But you are 70-80% more. So shouldn't we stop this scheme? Because it's out of control. I'm not satisfied with your response. You either give me a written response. I think this is a waste of money. You can't collect on bad debt. So why are you continuing? It's throwing good money down the sea. I've heard Mr. Chung's views. This delinquent payment, bad debt, the two agencies are using different methods, so the figures are different. But you also understand that we're talking about low-income family students, so their family circumstances might make it hard to make these payments. Of course, we need to follow up and monitor them. We'll use our existing mechanism. But looking at this year's figures, I remember last year, different colleagues were telling me, no matter what, it's a very meaningful program. Looking at this year's figures, I have a different observation. That is, the service is very popular. A lot of people are doing it. The delinquent payments are in the equipment. So even if we have different options, we have different cheap machines, expensive machines, the number of equipment purchases are not high. So in the coming year, in 2015, we'll conduct a review. We'll look at the delinquent payments. I'm not satisfied with your response. Could you give me a detailed response? You might as well just give them money. I had questioned the government apps it's developed, but there's no promotion. So I won't comment on this occasion, but I see these 7 apps, the usage is in the hundreds. So do you have any goal? The company that developed this app, did they have any goal? Did they assess, how would they assess whether the app was successful or a failure? And what promotion plans do you have for these 7 apps? The second question is about the elderly digital outreach work. You want to involve elderly in home care and the so-called invisible elderly. So the old age centers, do they have internet access? Are you providing them with tablets? For example, the invisible elderly. It's not meaningful to show them how to use an iPad because they won't have an iPad to work with. You're just giving them a demonstration. Could you elaborate a little bit? Well, let me explain the apps first. So through these 7 companies, they have apps for, let's say, autistic children. So they will promote that amongst the autistic children. We also have a package, a promotion package. We have a series of events with the media, we have activities regarding the, well, did they have targets? Yes, they had download targets. Some have already been met. For example, the autistic, there's been 4,000 downloads. So these apps were just launched this year, the beginning of the year. So when they made a fund application, they had a goal. I'm not commenting whether you are performing well or not. I'm just asking if you have any download goals. Regarding the outreach program, the 3 agencies, they have tablets. They bring it along to the elderly, to the old age centers. Not everybody has a tablet. They might do a demonstration if they need one. The old age center can arrange for one. Of course, they won't be given one. What about the invisible elderly? They're just given a demonstration. It's not meaningful if there's no follow-up after the. Well, if our target is to identify these elderly, if they find it fun, they might consider going to the centers, take part in activities, because the centers will have these facilities. Mr. Leung Go-hong, well, you've loaned them a tablet. You ask them a month later, have they used it? Have they loaned one? Is there any incentive for them to purchase a tablet?
Ask them whether they used it, where they used it, or did they give it to the grandchildren. You should do such a tracking survey or interview. Secondly, these 7 mobile apps, does it mean that once you have developed them, it means you have done your job? Actually, the problem is, remember we criticized iPro A and it pulled out, but this is still with us. Do you want to carry on with this? No, I really want to put forward this view. In fact, you could allow me to be one of the implementers. My Facebook account is always full. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, can I ask you and to clarify, what questions are you asking? Your first question was about the apps. Okay, you developed the apps, and do you have any indicators to show whether they have performed their goal? Do you have a target? And I'm not talking about the number of users. You should not just look at input and output. The issue is whether you think you can do a better job. When I said I could be one of the implementers, it would be easy, right? You could ask people to inundate people's Facebook by providing them a small award if they write something. Do you have such a system like the electronic voting system? Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, are you asking a question on the mobile apps and the usage rate? Of course, the officials can answer the question, but I'd also like to say that the mobile apps aim to help certain groups of people with disabilities. Do you want to know the proportion of people with disabilities who are using them? Well, if it is not used by a blind person, say for example, you have intended it to be used by the visually impaired, but in fact they are used by the visually healthy. Well, it's all right if they want to cook the books. So, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, are you asking them whether their statistics are real or are they cooked up? Is that right? Well, I'm saying if I'm a person with a disability, I don't use the app, but another able-bodied person uses the app. So, can you check that out? Right, Ms. Kwat? There should be such a monitoring system to see whether the mobile apps are really used by people who should be using them. I think you're asking a different question from Mr. Raymond Chan. He was saying that there was not enough publicity, so people may not be using it. But now you're asking it the other way. You're saying that those who should not be using them may be using them. Mr. Lai? The organizations concerned actually understand these underprivileged groups very well, and they provide the correct content in those apps for such groups. Well, yes, the download figure would be one of the indicators. However, what is important is that the mobile app should allow the designated underprivileged groups and help them to integrate into society or to learn certain skills. Can you wait for the second round? No, give them the carrot. If you are a person with a disability, if you use it for 5 or 20 times, I will give you an award like a tablet computer or a coupon worth $10. Then that is the way to do it. Or else those who are totally unrelated will be using the mobile apps. I'm speaking from my heart here. You should give a carrot to encourage the underprivileged groups to use the apps. Say if you use it 20 times, there will be a coupon for a lottery, and if you win the lottery, you will be given a tablet computer. Your time is up. You may need to wait for the second round. In fact, I am also a little concerned, like the searching and exploring with speech augmented maps information or Sesame. There are 70,000 who are visually impaired in Hong Kong, but then the download rate is only 560, so it's very far from the target figure. I'm sure those who can see would not have to use this app. However, I still think that the utilization rate is very low. I'd like you to do more promotion and publicity. If there are no other people asking in the first round, I will ask a question first before we go to the second round. With regard to web accessibility campaign, of course, I would encourage you to continue to promote it. But if you look at the report this time around, there are 136 gold awards. I'd like to know, I know that there are many webs in Hong Kong, but then you have started to promote this only in the year 2000. So my question for you is, actually you can promote many webs, but those webs are not barrier-free, like the 18 district website. District councils, they are not barrier-free. No, they are. But can you also make the websites of legislators and also district councillors barrier-free? Because if you look at the list, only my website and Mr. Charles Mok's website are barrier-free. Perhaps you can help promote this. And also, when you look at the list of statutory and also public and publicly funded organizations, how is the figure of the websites they govern as a percentage of all websites? And I also know whether you have a target for this. Talking about targets, I'd like to know whether when you go forward, you have a target of asking a certain type of organizations like banks to reach a certain percentage, so we know the effectiveness. And if next year you also dish out the awards to the same 100-odd organizations, then it means the rest of the websites can still be are not barrier-free yet. Next, I'd like to talk about the elderly. Do you have a figure to show us how big the number is for elderly people who have learned to use the internet? What is the percentage? Right now it's 21%. We hope by year-end, when we do census and statistics, we would like that to be asked as well. And that is, we would like to boost the figure to 25%, and we tend to be aggressive in the next 3 years, because apart from going online, we would also like elderly people to use mobile applications and a mobile phone. We hope that 3 years down the road, the figure can reach 50%. Next time, can you give us the figures with regard to the growth trend in a 10-year period? You say 25% or 50%. How do they compare with other advanced jurisdictions? Are we being aggressive or advanced? I think we need more comparison before we know how we are doing. Next round, Mr. Charles Mok and Mr. Christopher Chung. Chairman, I guessed it. Whenever I speak, Mr. Christopher Chung will speak next. I'm sure the pro-establishment camp will say that this is not a good program. Its utilization rate is lower than expected. Let's grab it. We have expected it because their organizations are not benefiting. You don't want to care about the families and children who are at the bottom of the scale. You have been kicked out, and therefore you want to scrap the program altogether. I'm most unhappy with the PS reply. You said you have already done what you should do in follow-up and pursuit, and you have passed the buck to perhaps the police. We don't know whether the police and the ICAC have completed their investigation. Can you respond as to the stage of investigation and what you have done? The only thing you have done is that the organization was excluded from the program. But apart from that, what else have you done? It is quite easy for the pro-establishment camp to approach government funding like an automatic teller machine. There won't be a second time for the Hong Kong Dragon and Dance extravaganza to take place. But then, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong, I don't think you want to follow that example. I'm sure you won't want to become something like that. But I am very unhappy with the PS earlier reply that whatever should be done has been done. So first of all, I would like to ask you to think about what else can be done. And secondly, at what stage of investigation are the police and the ICAC? PS? Chairman, I think we should be fair. We could see some administrative mix-up, and also there was flouting of contractual terms. So we have done what we should do, as I said. However, usually if some people break the contract, they could be pursued in court. Why do you only refer the case to the police? As you know, the police usually will come to no avail in their investigations because they always go for criminal standards of investigation. Well, I think we have to be fair. If there is any legal contravention, we have already carried out whatever follow action should be taken out, and whatever should be done has been done. That is my reply. What about civil pursuit? Because if you refer it to the police, they would only conduct a criminal investigation. Ms. Lam, I think I can say something here. According to contractual terms, we have already done the follow-up. The contract allows us to do something about contraventions, and that is we terminate the contract. That has been reported to the LegCo. And also, we have reviewed all the accounts in detail, and we have sustained not even 1 cent in loss. In other words, financially, there has been no loss. As to whether we should do further follow-up, I think we have done everything. And if another unit is doing something, we have no authority to divulge any information. I hope members will understand the situation. No, I think they have given you responses in some letters. Is it that there is a criminal element because misleading or incorrect information has been filed, and so you refer the case to the police? Is that right? Well, in the end, if follow-up action should be carried out, we have already carried out those actions. Are you assisting with the investigation? Yes. We have done 3 things. 1, the termination of the contract according to the terms of the contract. This is allowed by the contract. Any contravention can end in termination, and that was the case. And secondly, we reviewed the entire matter. In terms of finances, the administration has not sustained any loss at all. And also, if it is something not done by us, we have no authority to try to get the information. I will just say those 3 things, and I hope the member will understand. Mr. Christopher Chung. Before or after the 18th of May 2013, these questions have continuously been asked. So does it mean that this is not just a problem with one particular implementer? Does it show that the design of the program is problematic? The monitoring, the management, and control of the program is problematic. I like the PS or the GCIO to answer me, because these problems have continued to surface. PS. Thank you, Chairman. With regard to bad loans, I think this is what the question is about. I think that is all because there has been a purchase procedure, and this is done by payment by hire purchase. And we discovered that some addresses were inaccurate, and there were cases where people just could not pay the installments. I think such could be expected, but is it that we can do a better job? Well, if we do not provide for hire purchase, then there would be less opportunity for bad debts to surface. I will try to see whether we can do better. No, I cannot agree with you. You seem to be saying that the low-income families want to stall the payments. But then when you create a scheme, you should have estimated the repayment ability, or else you are shaming people to say that they are stalling the installments. However, you are not controlling the situation.
So why did you design such a bad scheme? So in other words, you're saying low-income people are thieves. That's an insult. I can't accept that. It's your administrative error. You have not been able to learn from the experience, and you have not come up with new initiatives. So if you find that it doesn't work, you should change. So those who can't afford it, you should just give them a computer. I never said that low-income families are more likely to take certain action. But I need to explain that under the arrangement, there are situations where they have higher incident of delinquent payments. We can do a better job, but it might affect the purchasing of computers. Some organizations have also given computers away for free. I think we can consider that. We need to take note that the two different agencies, they have two different methods, so they have different delinquent payments situations. So can we continue the arrangement but use a different method? That's something we'll follow up. Yes, we're not happy with the figures. You should try to avoid delinquent payments. We can't use installment payments. So shouldn't we have donors giving computers away? So you've made a mess of things and the problems keep occurring. So I'd like a detailed explanation of why you have these problems and how will you avoid these problems. Well, the situation, all the loans have chances of delinquent payments. So in the last few years' experience, we have specialized in delinquent payments. When delinquent payments arise, the two agencies will arrange social workers to contact the families. Low-income families, their payment abilities, they might have difficulties. They might not be able to pay for 2 or 3 months, and in the 4th month they might make 5 or 6 months payments. So that's how we monitor the books. So when social workers talk to them, they find that they have affordability issues, and we have write-offs, as you said just now. So if you can't pay for it, we'll give it to you for free. So in the beginning, a lot of families, they would try to make monthly payments. We didn't allow them to do that. It's only when later on they find that they can't catch up with payments, so we'll give it away and we'll write it off. So in this plan, if we can write it off, it means that social workers have interviewed them. So if we don't have the problem you mentioned, we might find other ways to deal with it. And over the 3 years, we've accumulated experience. If you were to run a bank, the bank would go under. It's poor management and poor planning. We've run the program for 3 years, and by this year, as with the boys and girls clubs, we've made some improvements. For example, some families, they need to make monthly payments, so the boys and girls club will interview them to see whether they have a need. So after taking this step, the delinquent payments have been reduced. The two agencies have also shared their experience. So we believe in the coming year we'll see improvement. Thank you. Mr. Leung, go home. Well, they're not as bad as iPro-A. But I have a question for you. Last time I criticized them, so what's your progress now? So can you disclose this information? Have you referred the case to the police? You might want to share this evidence with me. You need to report. The poor management, not corrupt management. Last June, we had already explained our arrangement. We found that the administrative chaos triggered the termination of the contract. So we've done what can be done, and that's the end of the matter. So you're saying they're not involved in any criminal activity, or they have not reneged on the contract? Do they need to make compensation? Well, for each day of filibustering, millions are wasted. So this money can help the disadvantaged. I have well, if you engage a courier service, express delivery, if it's 1 year late, it's still delivered. You call that no loss? Well, our government policy is being delayed. I'm being criticized for wasting 200 million plus for every day of filibustering. As I explained, if they have breached any contractual clauses or not live up to the contract, according to the contract, we can terminate the contract. Well, if you engage them to do something and they can't deliver, they have a liability. So, to be fair to iProA, well, maybe you look at the contract and you find that it can't be recovered. You need to be fair to iProA. So if they can't deliver according to the contract, then you just terminate the contract. Well, you've already badmouthed them. It's been a year later. I'm not targeting them, even though I have a bad impression of them. I want to add one point, that is, they are required to do a lot of things. They were able to live up to the majority of it. If you look at the service guidelines, they had not wasted our time. The reason for terminating the contract was that we required them to have a clear set of accounts of books. They did not. Postpone the delivery of service. So it wasn't. Well, is it a criminal case if they could not deliver the service because of not keeping clear accounts? Time's up. I'd like to follow up regarding Appendix F. If you look at this year's report, you see that there were 50,000 number of cases that were where the service was delivered, and the Boys and Girls Clubs were able to deliver 30,000 cases, and the average cost is 710 compared to Boys and Girls Club. Boys and Girls Club, their average cost is some 370. So the two agencies, if you compare them directly, you'll find that the Boys and Girls Club seems to be much more effective. They have more services. Their service cost is half. Their total expenditure is also lower. So why has that occurred? So could Boys and Girls Club help Web Organic? Or is Web Organic itself? Are their operations problematic? Well, the two agencies' operations are slightly different. The Boys and Girls Club, they have their own service centers to provide the service. It's more direct. Whereas Web Organic have to work with NGOs and frontline workers. So the two operation modes are slightly different. And in our midterm report, Web Organic needed to sign a contract. So they were they were late by a month and a half before kicking off the new service. So that's why we urge them to share experience to provide the best service at the lowest economic cost. And we see the two agencies improving, especially after the interim report. Their costs are coming down. I see the positive trend of reducing costs. Well, but 370 and 710, the public are wondering, can they further bring down costs further? They're already meeting regularly. How can they increase the number of service deliveries? Well, we need more promotion, and we have the student financial assistance, we have social welfare department, they mail letters to eligible families to help these two agencies to promote this scheme. And through our last review, the recipients find the service most beneficial. So in the last 7 months, we strengthened the assistance, and the figures are improving. As in other words, service delivery is going up, and the economic cost is coming down. So in the future, will you provide any goals for the two agencies? What costs do they need to be able to deliver the service? In 2014-15, we have a series of guidelines for the two agencies. It's the same guideline. And what's the average service cost? With number of service deliveries and number of families, we're not using just the average cost, of course, but we can calculate the average cost. In 14-15, the two agencies need to deliver not less than 25,000 basic services, and they need to provide not less than 9,000 basic services, or they need to have 3,000 new entrants, or not less than 51,000 units participation. So these have been set, and if the costs are more or less the same, then the costs are more or less the same. So we'd also like to see the average costs goal. We need to hand the venue at 4:30 to the education panel. So we conclude today's meeting. Thank you.